The bell above the glass door jingled like it always did, thin and tired, the sound of something that had been rung too many times for too little gratitude. Jack Mercer didn't look up right away. He was crouched beside a dented blue pickup in Bayfield Auto and Tire, sleeves rolled to his elbows, grease darkening the lines of his hands like permanent ink. The garage smelled of rubber and old oil, the kind of smell that settled into your clothes and followed you home even after you showered. "Dad!" a small voice called from the waiting area, soft but certain. Jack wiped his hands on a rag and finally glanced up. His son, Noah, sat at the corner table near the coffee machine, legs swinging above the floor. His homework was spread out beside a half-eaten bag of pretzels. Noah's hair stuck up in the back like a stubborn cowlick refused to be tamed. Jack's chest tightened in that familiar way, half love, half worry. Noah was only 8, but he'd learned how to be quiet when things were hard. He'd learned too much too young. "You good, buddy?" Jack asked. Noah nodded quickly. "Mrs. Grant said I could stay here till you're done." Mrs. Grant, the older woman who owned the shop, waved from behind the counter without looking away from her computer. She had silver hair, sharp eyes, and a kindness that showed up in actions more than words. She didn't ask Jack why he had to bring his kid to work. She didn't ask where Noah's mom was. She just made space. Jack turned back to the pickup. The customer, Mr. DeLuca, was pacing, checking his watch as if time could be bullied into moving faster. "How long?" DeLuca asked, not bothering to hide the annoyance in his voice. Jack kept his tone steady. "I'm tightening the manifold bolts. Should be ready in 15. DeLuca snorted. 15. Sure. You mechanics always say 15. Jack didn't respond. He didn't have the energy to spar. He had learned over the last 3 years that arguing rarely made anything better, and it always made Noah's eyes look heavier. Outside, winter light hung low over Maplewood Avenue, the main road that cut through their small town of Briar Glen, Illinois. The streets were lined with bare trees and salt-stained sidewalks, and the wind pushed dry leaves around like it was bored and looking for trouble. Jack could see his own reflection faintly in a shop window, broad shoulders, tired eyes, a face that looked older than 35. A man the world assumed had made all the wrong choices. The truth was, Jack had made one choice he still wrestled with every night. He had stayed. When Emma walked out, leaving the apartment emptier than it already felt, Jack had stared at the door for a long time. Then he'd looked at Noah, who was small and confused and clutching his stuffed dinosaur like it could keep the world from changing. Jack hadn't chased Emma. He hadn't begged. He'd just picked Noah up and promised him something he wasn't sure he could deliver. "I'm not going anywhere." That promise had kept Jack upright on days when he felt like collapsing. The garage door rolled open with a loud rattling sound. 2 men in designer jackets stepped inside, shaking off the cold. One of them, Evan Price, had been in here before. Jack recognized him immediately because Evan always came in like he owned the place. Like the air should move out of his way. Evan's eyes swept the shop and landed on Jack. His smile curled with a kind of amusement that wasn't friendly. "Well, look at this," Evan said loudly, as if the shop were a stage. "Mercer's still here." Jack kept working, focusing on the wrench in his hand. Evan walked closer, his friend trailing behind, and leaned against the pickup as if it were his. "Still playing hero for junk cars, huh? Thought you'd aim higher after. What was it? Your big family man era ended." Jack's jaw tightened. He could feel Noah watching from the waiting area, pretending he wasn't. "Car'll be ready when it's ready," Jack said without looking up. Evan laughed. "Hear that? The Saint Mechanic speaks." He glanced toward Noah. "You bring your kid to work now? That's rough. Guess babysitters cost more than your hourly." Jack set the wrench down slowly. He turned just enough to meet Evan's eyes. Jack had learned something about men like Evan. They grew bolder when they thought you wouldn't fight back. "Say what you want about me," Jack said evenly. "Leave him out of it." Evan's smile flickered, then widened. Touchy. Relax, man. I'm just saying, it's sad. Briar Glen's poster boy for what not to do. Mrs. Grant stood up at the counter, her chair scraping. Evan, she warned, voice calm but sharp. If you're not here for service, you can take your opinions outside. Evan lifted his hands like he was innocent. Okay. No need to get defensive, Mrs. G. He pushed off the truck, still smirking. I'll come back when he's done being dramatic. Evan and his friend left, laughter following them out into the cold. Jack exhaled slowly. His knuckles hurt, because he'd been gripping the rag too hard. He glanced over at Noah. Noah stared down at his homework, but his pencil had stopped moving. Jack walked over and crouched beside him. You all right? Noah nodded, too quickly. Jack's voice softened. Hey, look at me. Noah's eyes lifted. They were blue like Jack's, but they held more worry than any kid should. People say stupid things, Jack told him. It doesn't mean they're right. Noah swallowed. Why do they not like you? Jack's throat tightened. That question was the hardest kind, the kind that forced him to explain a world that didn't make sense. They don't know me, Jack said finally. And some people, they need someone to look down on, so they don't feel small. Noah's lips pressed together. You're not small. Jack smiled, just a little. Thanks, buddy. The bell jingled again, and this time a young woman stepped inside, cheeks red from the wind, holding a phone to her ear. She looked like she was trying not to cry, and failing. Dad, wait, Noah whispered suddenly, pointing. She's shaking. Jack stood. The girl, maybe 16 or 17, wore a puffy cream-colored coat and a knit beanie pulled low. She looked around like she didn't know where to go, like the room might swallow her whole. Hello, she said into the phone, voice cracking. Mom, please pick up. No answer. Her eyes darted toward the counter. Mrs. Grant stepped forward, her face changing instantly from sharp to concerned. Honey, are you okay? The girl blinked hard, tears slipping out anyway. I don't know what to do. My tire blew out on Route 9. I managed to pull into the gas station across the street, but I'm supposed to be home by 5 and my mom isn't answering and... Her voice broke. She hugged her phone like it could protect her. Jack's instincts kicked in before he even thought about it. He glanced outside. Sure enough, across the road, he could see the gas station, Neil's Fuel Mart, its lights bright against the gray afternoon. A white sedan sat near the air pump, hazard lights blinking. Jack wiped his hands again. You have a spare. The girl looked at him, startled. I think so. I don't know how. Jack nodded once. Okay. We'll take a look. Evan's laughter still echoed in Jack's head, but it faded under something stronger, the look on the girl's face. Fear didn't care who you were or what people called you. Fear was human. And so was help. Noah appeared at Jack's side, standing a little taller than before. Jack placed a gentle hand on his son's shoulder. You stay here with Mrs. Grant. I'll be right back. Noah hesitated, then nodded. Okay. Jack grabbed his jacket from the hook and headed for the door. Behind him, the girl wiped her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered, like she didn't believe anyone would. Jack didn't answer with words. He answered by stepping outside into the cold, crossing the street toward the blinking hazard lights, toward the moment that would change more than just one flat tire. The wind cut sharper outside, slicing through Jack Mercer's jacket as he crossed Maplewood Avenue toward Neil's Fuel Mart. Cars hissed past on the wet road, tires whispering against asphalt dusted with salt. The white sedan sat awkwardly near the air pump, its hazard lights blinking like a nervous heartbeat. The girl followed a few steps behind Jack, arms wrapped tightly around herself, phone clenched in one hand like it might suddenly come alive. Okay, Jack said calmly as he reached the car. Let's take this one step at a time. What's your name? Emily, she replied, voice shaky. Emily Carter. All right, Emily. I'm Jack. He nodded toward the sedan. Pop the trunk for me. She fumbled with the keys before the trunk clicked open. Inside sat a spare tire, a jack, and a lug wrench, all still wrapped in factory plastic. Jack crouched, inspecting the spare quickly. "You did good pulling over," he said. "A lot of people try to drive on a flat and make it worse." Emily let out a weak laugh. "I just heard this loud bang and thought something exploded." Jack smiled gently. "Feels like that the first time." He loosened the lug nuts while the tire was still on the ground, explaining each step as he went. Emily watched closely, nodding, trying to absorb everything through the haze of adrenaline and fear. "My dad was supposed to teach me this stuff," she said suddenly. "But he moved to Arizona last year. We don't really talk anymore." Jack paused just long enough for the words to land, then kept working. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Life has a way of rearranging plans." As he jacked the car up, a pair of teenagers walked by, snickering loudly. One of them pointed at Jack's grease-stained hands. "Nice outfit," the boy muttered. "Ever heard of gloves?" Jack ignored them. Emily's shoulders tensed, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Jack shook his head. "Nothing to be sorry about." He removed the flat tire, revealing a long nail embedded deep in the rubber. "That'll do it," he said. "Construction's been tearing up Route 9 for weeks." Emily swallowed. "How much is this going to cost?" Jack glanced at her. That question again, the one people asked when kindness came with an expectation. "Spare'll get you home," he said. "Then you can decide what to do next." He secured the spare and lowered the car carefully. "Now," he added, tightening the final lug nut, "I want you to loosen and tighten one of these yourself, just so you know how it feels." Emily hesitated, then took the wrench with trembling hands. Jack guided her stance, adjusting her grip. "Push down," he instructed. "Use your weight." She pushed. The lug nut turned slightly. Her eyes widened. "I did it." Jack smiled. "See? You're capable." For the first time since she'd entered the garage, Emily looked like she could breathe again. "Thank you," she said again, steadier now. "Really?" Jack wiped his hands on a rag he'd brought from the shop. "Get home safe. And tell your mom what happened when you see her. She'll worry." Emily nodded quickly. "I will." She climbed into the sedan, rolled down the window, and hesitated. You're really nice," she said. "People don't usually stop." Jack shrugged. "Someone stopped for me once. Long time ago." Emily waved before pulling back onto the road, hazard lights finally switching off as the car disappeared down Maplewood Avenue. Jack watched until the sedan was out of sight, then turned back toward the garage. The cold felt less biting now, or maybe he just didn't notice it. He crossed the street, grease on his hands, a faint sense of something shifting inside him. Inside the shop, Noah jumped up from his chair when he saw Jack return. "Dad, did you fix it?" Jack nodded. "She's on her way home." Noah's face lit up. "That's awesome." Mrs. Grant smiled from behind the counter. "You did good, Jack." Jack gave a small nod, uncomfortable with praise. He washed his hands at the sink, watching the grease swirl down the drain. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel lighter. That feeling didn't last long. The next morning, Jack woke before his alarm, the gray light of dawn slipping through the thin curtains of their apartment. Noah was still asleep, sprawled sideways on his bed, Dinosaur tucked under his arm. Jack watched him for a second longer than usual, then quietly got dressed. The radio in the kitchen murmured about traffic and weather as Jack packed Noah's lunch. Peanut butter sandwich. Apple slices. A note folded carefully into the bag. "Have a good day. I love you." By the time they reached Bayfield Auto and Tire, the town was fully awake. Mrs. Grant was already there, coffee steaming in her mug. "You hear the news?" she asked. Jack frowned. "What news?" She turned the small TV mounted in the corner toward him. A local morning show played silently until Mrs. Grant turned up the volume. "Shared hundreds of times overnight," the anchor was saying. A bystander recorded a local mechanic helping a stranded teen change her tire on Maplewood Avenue yesterday afternoon. The video has sparked conversations about kindness and community. Jack's stomach dropped. The screen showed him, crouched beside Emily's car, explaining something, gesturing with a wrench. The angle was shaky, clearly filmed from across the street. His face wasn't perfectly clear, but it was clear enough. Noah stared at the screen, mouth open. "Dad, that's you." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't know anyone was filming." Mrs. Grant raised an eyebrow. "Welcome to the internet." The video cut to Emily, her voice trembling but smiling. "He didn't have to help me," she said in the clip. "But he did. He treated me like I mattered." Jack felt heat creep up his neck. Within an hour, customers started mentioning it. Some smiled. Some clapped him on the back. Others looked at him like they were seeing him for the first time. Around noon, the bell jingled again. Evan Price stepped inside. He stopped short when he saw the TV replaying the clip. His confident grin faltered, just a little. "Well," Evan said slowly, "look who's famous." Jack met his gaze, steady and calm. "What do you need, Evan?" Evan scoffed. "Relax. I'm just surprised. Didn't know you were into charity work." Jack didn't rise to it. "Car trouble." Evan hesitated. His keys dangled from his fingers. "Yeah," he muttered. "Engine light's been on." Jack gestured toward the bay. "Pull it in." As Evan walked past, Noah watched him closely, eyes sharp in a way Jack had never seen before. "Dad," Noah whispered once Evan was out of earshot, "he was mean yesterday." Jack knelt so they were eye level. "Yes, he was. So why are you helping him?" Jack thought for a moment. Then he said, "Because doing the right thing doesn't depend on who deserves it." Noah nodded slowly, considering that like a puzzle piece. In the garage bay, Jack lifted Evan's hood, the familiar hum of engines and tools grounding him. The world outside was suddenly louder, faster, watching more closely than it ever had before. Jack Mercer, the man everyone looked past, was being seen. And he had no idea yet how much that would change everything. By the end of the week, Jack Mercer learned a new truth about kindness. It didn't just ripple outward, it echoed back, louder than expected. The video refused to fade. What Jack thought would be a one-day curiosity had turned into something else entirely. Local radio stations mentioned it during morning segments. A short article appeared on the Briar Glen community page with the headline, "Quiet Hero on Maplewood Avenue." Mrs. Grant taped a printed screenshot near the counter, shaking her head every time she caught Jack looking at it. "You didn't ask for it," she said, "but don't you dare apologize for it." Jack still felt uneasy. Praise sat on his shoulders like an oversized coat, heavy, awkward, and unfamiliar. Customers came in just to shake his hand. Some brought coffee. One woman slipped a $20 bill into the tip jar and whispered, "For your boy." Jack tried to refuse, but she'd already turned away. Noah noticed everything. At school, the change arrived faster. Jack picked Noah up Friday afternoon and immediately sensed something was different. Noah burst through the doors, backpack bouncing, face lit up in a way Jack hadn't seen in a long time. "Dad," Noah said breathlessly. Everyone saw the video. Jack winced. "Everyone?" "Well, yeah," Noah said, then hesitated. "But it was good. Tyler said his mom showed it to him. And Mrs. Collins made us talk about helping people during class." Jack unlocked the car. "Did anyone give you a hard time?" Noah shook his head. "No. They said you were cool." "Cool." Jack laughed under his breath as he drove. The word felt unreal, like a misplaced label. That night, after dinner, Jack sat on the edge of Noah's bed while Noah brushed his teeth. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the heater and the distant sound of a neighbor's television through the thin walls. "Dad?" Noah asked around a mouthful of toothpaste foam. "Yeah." "Are you famous now?" Jack chuckled. "No, buddy. Not even close." Noah rinsed and spit, then climbed into bed. "I like when people say nice things about you." Jack swallowed. "Me too." But later, alone in the kitchen, Jack stared at his phone. Notifications kept lighting the screen, messages from people he hadn't spoken to in years. Old co-workers, distant relatives, even a name he hadn't expected to see at all. Emma. He didn't open it right away. The past had a way of reopening itself when you thought it was done. Jack had spent years building walls around that chapter of his life, not out of anger, but survival. He wasn't sure he was ready to revisit it now. The phone buzzed again. Finally, he tapped the message. "I saw the video. You did good, Jack." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a sentence that carried years of silence behind it. Jack set the phone down, heart pounding. He didn't reply. The next morning at the garage, something unexpected happened. A black SUV pulled into the lot, clean, expensive, completely out of place among the rusted sedans and work trucks. It idled for a moment before the driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. She was tall, poised, dressed in a tailored beige coat, her dark hair pulled back neatly. She paused, scanning the garage as if confirming she was in the right place. Jack felt something tighten in his chest. Emily Carter. She walked inside slowly, eyes locking on Jack the moment she saw him. "Oh," she said softly. "It's really you." Jack wiped his hands. "Hey, you made it home okay?" Emily smiled. "I did. My mom cried when I told her what happened." She hesitated. "Actually, she insisted on coming with me today." Another woman appeared behind her, Emily's mother, unmistakably. She wore worry like it had become part of her posture. "I'm Susan Carter," she said, extending her hand. "I wanted to thank you properly." Jack shook her hand, suddenly aware of the grease still embedded in his knuckles despite washing. "I just changed a tire." Susan shook her head. "You changed more than that." Emily reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "We wanted to give you something. For your time." Jack immediately raised a hand. "You don't have to." Susan gently placed the envelope on the counter anyway. "Please. Let us." Jack glanced inside. His breath caught. It wasn't cash. It was something else entirely, a handwritten letter and a business card. Susan spoke before he could ask. "I work with a community foundation in Oak Ridge. We fund local programs, scholarships, emergency assistance." She smiled. "People who help others without expecting anything. Those are the people we want to support." Jack looked at the card again, stunned. "I don't." Emily stepped closer. "My mom says sometimes help goes both ways." Jack nodded slowly, overwhelmed. "Thank you," he said finally. "That means more than you know." After they left, Mrs. Grant leaned over the counter. "You okay?" Jack exhaled. "I think so." But the day wasn't done surprising him. That afternoon, Evan Price returned. He stood near the bay door, hands shoved into his pockets, no smirk this time. "Hey," Evan said. Jack looked up from the engine. "What's up?" Evan shifted uncomfortably. My car's running fine. I just came to say." He cleared his throat. "The video. That was decent of you." Jack waited. Evan sighed. "I was a jerk." Jack studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Yeah, you were." Evan grimaced. "Fair." Silence stretched between them before Evan spoke again. "Guess I forgot what it looks like when someone actually shows up." Jack's expression softened, just a fraction. "It's never too late to remember." Evan nodded, then left without another word. That night, Jack finally replied to Emma's message. "Thanks," he typed. Then paused. After a long moment, he added, "Noah's doing well." The reply came minutes later. "I'm glad. I'd like to see him sometime. If you're open to it." Jack stared at the screen, emotions colliding, anger, fear, hope, and something like relief. He set the phone down again, choosing not to answer yet. Some doors, he knew, needed to be opened carefully. As Jack turned off the kitchen light and headed to bed, Noah's quiet breathing filled the apartment. Jack stood there for a moment, listening, feeling the weight of the day settle into something steadier. He had helped a stranger. The world had noticed. Now the past was stirring, opportunity was knocking, and Jack Mercer was standing at the edge of a life that looked very different from the one he thought he was stuck with. And this time, he wasn't going to look away. Change didn't arrive gently. It arrived like a knock that wouldn't stop, polite at first, then louder, more insistent, until Jack Mercer could no longer pretend he didn't hear it. The Monday after Emily and her mother visited the shop, Jack found a voicemail waiting on his phone before he'd even finished his first cup of coffee. "Mr. Mercer, this is Daniel Brooks from Channel 8 News in Oak Ridge. We'd love to speak with you about the video circulating online. Please call me back." Jack stared at the screen like it might explode. He didn't call back. By lunchtime, there were 3 more messages: local radio, a blogger, even a non-profit outreach group wanting to feature his story. Mrs. Grant intercepted 2 reporters who actually showed up at Bayfield Auto and Tire, sending them away with crossed arms and a look that said not today. Jack appreciated her more than ever. But the attention seeped in anyway. People stared longer when he walked into the grocery store. Strangers smiled at him in line. A man clapped him on the shoulder and said, "We need more guys like you," as if Jack had been personally commissioned to fix the world. Jack didn't feel like a symbol. He felt tired. That evening, as he cooked spaghetti in their small kitchen, Noah sat at the table coloring. He glanced up suddenly. "Dad." "Yeah." Are we rich now?" Jack blinked, then laughed. "No, buddy." "Why?" Noah shrugged. "People keep giving you stuff. Mrs. Grant gave me a soda today." Jack stirred the pot slowly. "That doesn't mean anything changes." Noah frowned. "But things are changing." Jack didn't answer right away. Because Noah was right. The letter from Susan Carter sat on the counter, folded neatly beside the business card. Jack had read it 3 times already. It spoke about community grants, about emergency funds for families in transition, about opportunity, a word Jack wasn't used to associating with himself. He hadn't told Noah yet. He wasn't sure how. Later that night, once Noah was asleep, Jack sat on the couch scrolling through messages he'd ignored all day. One name kept hovering in his mind. Emma. She'd sent another message earlier. "I'm in town this week. Just thought you should know." Jack leaned back, rubbing his eyes. The apartment felt smaller suddenly, the walls closer. He hadn't prepared for this part, the past colliding with the present while the future demanded attention all at once. The next morning, Jack agreed, reluctantly, to one interview. Mrs. Grant insisted he do it off-site, away from the shop. "It's your story," she said. "You get to control it." The interview took place in a quiet corner of a local cafe. Daniel Brooks was younger than Jack expected, polite, almost careful. "I'm not interested in making you look like a superhero," Daniel said honestly. "I just want people to remember what decency looks like." Jack exhaled. "I'm not trying to be anything." Daniel smiled. "That's usually how it works." The questions were simple at first, about the tire, about Emily, about the video. Then they shifted. "You're a single father," Daniel said gently. "How does that shape the way you see moments like that?" Jack hesitated. Images flickered through his mind. Noah crying the night Emma left, the quiet mornings, the packed lunches, the nights he fell asleep sitting upright on the couch because he was too exhausted to move. "I know what it feels like," Jack said slowly, choosing each word. "To feel stuck. Afraid. Like no one's coming." Daniel nodded, eyes focused. "And yet, you showed up." Jack looked down at his hands. "Because someone did that for me once." The interview aired that evening. Jack didn't watch it. But Emma did. She called the next day. Jack stared at his ringing phone for a long time before answering. "Hello, Jack," Emma said. Her voice sounded smaller than he remembered. "I saw the interview." Silence filled the space between them. "You look steady," she added. Jack swallowed. "Noah's doing well." "I know," Emma said quickly. "I've been asking around. I didn't think you'd want to hear from me." Jack leaned against the counter. "Why are you calling, Emma?" She paused. "Because I owe you an apology." That landed harder than anything she could have said. "I left," she continued, voice shaking now. "I told myself you'd be better off without me. That Noah would forget. But he didn't. And neither did I." Jack closed his eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Emma said. I want to see my son. Even if it's just once." Jack's chest tightened painfully. "I need time," he said finally. "Noah needs stability." "I understand," Emma replied. Take all the time you need." When the call ended, Jack stayed where he was, staring at the wall. His reflection in the microwave door looked older somehow, wearier, but clearer. That afternoon, Susan Carter called. "We'd like to offer you a small grant," she said warmly. "Nothing overwhelming. Enough to give you breathing room." Jack almost said no out of instinct alone. Almost. "What's the catch?" he asked. Susan chuckled. "No catch. Just trust." Jack agreed to meet. That evening, he sat Noah down at the table. "Hey, buddy," Jack said gently. "I want to tell you something." Noah looked up, alert. "Okay." "Remember the girl whose tire I fixed?" Noah nodded eagerly. "Well, her mom helps people. And she wants to help us too." Noah's eyes widened. "Like, with money?" Jack nodded. "A little. To make things easier." Noah was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Does that mean you won't be so tired all the time?" The question broke something open inside Jack. "I hope so," he said softly. Noah smiled, relief plain on his face. "That's good." That night, Jack lay awake staring at the ceiling. The noise of the world buzzed faintly beyond the window. Cars passing, distant sirens, life moving forward whether he was ready or not. Opportunity was knocking. The past was reaching out. The present was watching closely. Jack Mercer had spent years just trying to survive. Now, for the first time, he had to decide what he wanted to build. And the pressure of that choice was heavier than any engine he'd ever lifted. The meeting with Susan Carter took place on a Thursday afternoon, in a glass-walled office overlooking downtown Oak Ridge. Jack arrived 10 minutes early, hands clasped tightly in his lap, feeling painfully aware of how out of place he looked among the polished floors and minimalist furniture. His boots left faint scuff marks on the tile, and he resisted the urge to apologize for them. Susan greeted him warmly, motioning for him to sit. "I want to be clear," she said once they settled. "This isn't charity in the way people usually think of it. It's investment. In people." Jack nodded, though his stomach churned. He had lived too long calculating every dollar, every hour. Investment was a word used by people with margin. Susan slid a thin folder across the table. The grant would cover several months of expenses. Rent support. School costs. Transportation. Enough to let you breathe. Jack opened the folder carefully, like it might vanish if he moved too fast. The numbers made his chest tighten, not because they were extravagant, but because they were realistic. Achievable relief. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Susan smiled. "Because you didn't ask." Jack left the building feeling unsteady, like the ground beneath him had shifted just enough to throw off his balance. The city buzzed around him, horns, voices, footsteps, but inside, everything was quiet and loud at the same time. When he picked Noah up from school that day, Noah sensed it immediately. "You look weird," Noah said bluntly as he climbed into the car. Jack laughed. "Thanks." "No, like, thinking weird," Noah clarified. Jack started the engine. "I have a lot on my mind. Is it good stuff or bad stuff?" Jack considered. "Both." At home, Jack spread the papers out on the kitchen table after dinner. Noah leaned over them, squinting like he could decode adult problems through sheer effort. "So this helps us?" Noah asked. "Yes." "Like, helps you sleep more?" Jack smiled sadly. "That's the idea." Noah tapped the table thoughtfully. "Then you should do it." Jack looked at him. "It's not that simple." Noah shrugged. "Most important things never are." Jack stared at his son, struck by the quiet wisdom in such a small body. That night, Jack dreamed of engines stalling, of doors opening and closing, of Emma's voice calling his name from somewhere he couldn't reach. He woke before dawn, heart racing. Emma was waiting outside the shop later that morning. Jack saw her through the window before he'd even parked. She stood near the old soda machine, hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, hair shorter than he remembered. She looked older too, different, but unmistakably her. Jack sat in his car for a full minute before stepping out. "Hi," Emma said when she saw him. "Hi." An awkward silence followed, filled with all the things they hadn't said in years. "I won't take much of your time," Emma said finally. "I just wanted to talk. In person." Jack crossed his arms. "About Noah?" "Yes." "And about us. Or what we were." Jack nodded slowly. "You left," he said plainly. Emma flinched. "I know. I held him while he cried for weeks," Jack continued, voice steady but tight. "I learned how to be two parents because I didn't have a choice." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "I was scared," she whispered. "I thought I'd ruin him if I stayed." Jack shook his head. "You ruined him by leaving." The words hung between them, heavy but honest. "I'm not here to undo the past," Emma said. "I just want to be part of his future. If you'll let me." Jack looked away, jaw clenched. He thought of Noah's laugh, his quiet resilience, the way he trusted Jack completely. "I'll talk to him," Jack said at last. Slowly, carefully. Emma nodded, relief and guilt mingling on her face. "Thank you." She left without trying to hug him, without asking for more than he could give. Jack watched her go, unsure whether he felt lighter or heavier afterward. At the shop, Mrs. Grant noticed immediately. "You all right?" she asked. Jack sighed. "Life's complicated." She snorted. "If it wasn't, I'd worry." That afternoon, Jack received an email from Susan Carter's foundation confirming the grant approval. The funds would be available within the week. Jack stared at the screen for a long time. Relief washed over him first. Then fear. Then something deeper, responsibility. That evening, Jack sat Noah down again. "There's something else," Jack said gently. "Your mom, she wants to see you." Noah's eyes widened. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He just froze. "Why now?" Noah asked quietly. Jack swallowed. "Because she saw the video. And because she's been thinking about you for a long time." Noah looked down at his hands. "Did she forget me?" "No," Jack said firmly. "Never." Noah nodded slowly. "I don't know how I feel." "That's okay," Jack said. "You don't have to decide anything." They sat together in silence for a while, the weight of the conversation settling in. Later, after Noah went to bed, Jack stood by the window, watching headlights sweep across the street below. The grant money would change their lives. Emma's return might too, for better or worse. Jack realized something then. The hardest part wasn't surviving anymore. It was choosing what came next. And for the first time in years, Jack Mercer understood that choice, real choice, was both a gift and a burden. The first deposit from the Carter Foundation landed in Jack Mercer's account on a quiet Tuesday morning. Jack stared at the screen in disbelief, refreshing it twice to make sure it was real. The numbers didn't make him feel rich. They made him feel safe, and that was something he hadn't felt in years. He paid the rent that afternoon. No late fee. No apology to the landlord. No knot in his stomach when he clicked submit. That night, he slept deeply for the first time in a long while, only to wake with a different kind of unease. Relief, he was learning, brought its own questions. If survival was no longer the problem, then what was? The answer arrived sooner than expected. Mrs. Grant called him into her office the next morning, closing the door behind them. "I got an offer," she said. Jack's pulse jumped. "An offer?" She nodded. "From a regional auto chain. They want to buy the shop." Jack felt the floor tilt. "Buy it?" "They'd keep the name for now," she continued. "But they'd modernize. Cut staff. Standardize hours." Jack frowned. "What about you?" Mrs. Grant smiled sadly. "I'd retire." "And me?" Jack asked quietly. "They offered you a management position. Salary. Benefits." The words hung in the air. A steady paycheck. Health insurance. Regular hours. Everything Jack had wished for on his hardest nights. "And?" Jack asked. "And I told them I needed time," Mrs. Grant said. "Because this place isn't just a business. It's people." Jack nodded slowly. "When do you have to decide?" 2 weeks. The weight of it settled heavily on his shoulders. That afternoon, as if the universe sensed his uncertainty, Channel 8 ran a follow-up segment, Where Are They Now? Featuring Jack and Emily. Jack hadn't agreed to it. But the footage was already out there. The segment showed Jack working under the hood of a car, voiceover praising his humility. Then it cut to Emily, smiling shyly. "He taught me more than how to change a tire," she said. "He taught me not to panic." Jack cringed when Noah pointed at the screen. "That's you again," Noah said. Jack muted the TV. "You don't have to watch." "No," Noah said. "I want to." The attention spread beyond Briar Glen. Messages poured in from neighboring towns. Parents thanked him. Teenagers wrote about being stranded, scared, and wishing someone like Jack had stopped. One message stood out. "My daughter didn't make it home last year when her car broke down. Thank you for showing people what should happen." Jack stared at the screen, chest aching. He responded simply, "I'm so sorry." The next test came in person. On Saturday, Jack took Noah to a hardware store in Oak Ridge. While Jack compared prices on snow shovels, Noah wandered a few steps away. "Dad," Noah said suddenly, voice tight. Jack turned to see a man crouched in front of Noah, phone in hand. "Just wanted a picture," the man said when he saw Jack approaching. "My kids love the video." Jack stepped between them without raising his voice. "Not today." The man rolled his eyes. "It's harmless." Jack's tone hardened. "I said no." The man muttered something under his breath and walked away. Noah grabbed Jack's sleeve. "I didn't like that." Jack knelt, heart pounding. "You never owe anyone access to you. Ever." Noah nodded, clinging tighter. That night, Jack wrote a short post online, his first and only public statement. "I'm grateful for the kindness being shared. But please remember, my son didn't choose this. Protecting him comes first." The post went viral too. Some praised him. Others criticized him for being ungrateful. Jack turned his phone off. The following week, Emily stopped by the shop again, this time with her mother. "We saw your post," Susan said. "You handled it well." Jack shrugged. "I'm learning as I go." Emily shifted nervously. "I wanted to ask you something." Jack waited. "Our school is hosting a community safety night," she said. "They want you to speak. Just for a few minutes." Jack's first instinct was no. Susan added gently, "You can bring Noah. We'd make sure he's comfortable." Jack hesitated. Public speaking terrified him. But the thought of teaching kids how not to panic, how to stay safe. "I'll think about it," he said. That evening, Emma texted. "Noah doesn't have to see me yet," she wrote. "I don't want to push." Jack appreciated that more than she knew. He sat with Noah at the kitchen table later, doing homework. "Dad," Noah asked, "are you scared?" Jack paused. "Sometimes." "That's okay," Noah said. "You're still brave." Jack smiled softly. 2 weeks passed quickly. Mrs. Grant stood beside Jack in the shop, papers spread out between them. "I need your answer," she said. Jack looked around, at the grease-stained floor, the old tools, the photos taped to the wall. This place had kept him afloat. But it wasn't the future. "I'll stay," Jack said. "If you sell, I'll take the management role." Mrs. Grant nodded, eyes misty. "I hoped you would." That night, Jack signed the grant paperwork. He also replied to Emily, "I'll speak." And finally, after days of thinking, Jack sent Emma a message. "We can meet. You and Noah. Somewhere neutral." The tests hadn't stopped. If anything, they were multiplying. But Jack Mercer was learning something important. Being seen wasn't the danger. Losing control of what mattered was. And he wasn't about to let that happen. The community safety night took place in the Oak Ridge Middle School gym, a wide, echoing room that smelled faintly of floor polish and old basketballs. Folding chairs were arranged in uneven rows, and a banner near the entrance read "Drive Smart. Stay safe. Look out for each other." Jack noticed it right away and felt a flicker of irony twist in his chest. Looking out for each other had never felt like a slogan to him. It was just something you did when someone needed help. He arrived early with Noah, who clutched Jack's hand a little tighter than usual. "You don't have to go up there if you don't want to," Noah said. eyes darting around the room as parents and teenagers filtered in. Jack squeezed his hand back. "I know. And you don't have to sit out here if you get uncomfortable. Mrs. Carter said there's a room in the back with snacks." Noah nodded. "I think I'll stay." Jack smiled. "All right. But remember, if you want to leave, we leave. No explanations." Noah seemed to relax at that. Susan Carter greeted them near the bleachers, all calm professionalism wrapped in warmth. Emily stood beside her, wearing a school sweatshirt and an unmistakable look of nerves. "You came," Emily said, relief in her voice. Jack nodded. "You asked nicely." She laughed softly. "I'm glad." As people took their seats, Jack felt the familiar tightening in his chest. He wasn't afraid of engines or broken parts. He was afraid of words, of saying the wrong thing, of being misunderstood. The microphone on the stand at center court looked far too official for someone like him. The principal opened the event with a brief welcome, then introduced Jack simply as a local mechanic and father. No dramatic build-up. No viral video references. Jack appreciated that more than he expected. When it was his turn, he walked slowly to the microphone. The gym quieted, dozens of faces turning toward him. Jack spotted Noah in the second row, feet dangling, eyes fixed on him. Jack cleared his throat. "I'm not a speaker," he began honestly. A few people smiled. "I fix cars. And sometimes I fix problems by standing next to them." A small ripple of laughter moved through the room. Jack continued, his voice steadying as he went. He talked about fear, how panic makes small problems feel impossible. He explained how a flat tire could be dangerous, but not the end of the world. He demonstrated, briefly, how to loosen a lug nut safely, using a spare wheel the school had provided. "But the most important thing," Jack said, glancing at Noah, "is remembering that you don't have to do everything alone. Ask for help. And if you can help, do it." The applause that followed wasn't thunderous, but it was real. Jack stepped back, heart pounding, and realized his hands were shaking, not from fear, but from release. Afterward, parents lined up to thank him. Teenagers asked questions. A few kids asked for selfies, which Jack politely declined, offering handshakes instead. Most understood. One woman lingered after the crowd thinned, her expression troubled. "My son's learning to drive," she said quietly. "He's reckless. I don't know how to reach him." Jack nodded. "Keep showing up, even when it's exhausting. Especially then." She smiled weakly. "Thank you." As they were leaving, Noah tugged Jack's sleeve. "Dad, you did good." Jack laughed softly. "I survived." Outside, the night air was crisp, the parking lot glowing under tall lights. Jack felt lighter than he had all day. The next test came the following afternoon. Jack met Emma at a small cafe on the edge of Briar Glen. He arrived early again, choosing a table near the window. When Emma walked in, he stood instinctively, then stopped himself. She approached slowly, uncertainty written across her face. "Hi," she said. "Hi." They sat. Emma wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "Noah didn't want to come?" "Not yet," Jack replied. "This is just us." Emma nodded. "I understand." They talked cautiously at first, about logistics, about schedules, about what Noah needed most. Emma didn't interrupt. She didn't defend herself. She listened, and that mattered. "I'm not here to undo anything," Emma said quietly. "I just want to earn my place back. If that's even possible." Jack studied her face. He saw regret there, real and unpolished. "It's not about me forgiving you," Jack said. "It's about Noah feeling safe." Emma swallowed hard. "I know." They agreed to start small. A letter. Then maybe a phone call. Everything at Noah's pace. When Emma left, Jack didn't feel closure. But he felt direction. That evening at the shop, Mrs. Grant handed Jack a set of keys. "Manager keys," she said with a proud smile. "We're making it official." Jack turned them over in his palm, the metal cool and solid. "Thank you." "You earned it," she replied. Evan Price walked in just as Jack was locking up that night. "Hey," Evan said, awkward but sincere. I heard you spoke at the school. Jack nodded. Word travels. Evan scratched the back of his neck. My niece is learning to drive. I sent her the clip. Jack raised an eyebrow. Which clip? Evan shrugged. The one where you're not famous. Just decent. Jack smiled faintly. That's my favorite version. As Jack and Noah walked home later, the streetlights casting long shadows on the sidewalk, Noah asked a question Jack had been waiting for. Dad, do you think Mom really wants to see me? Jack stopped walking and knelt in front of him. I think she does. But that doesn't mean you have to be ready. Noah considered this. Can I think about it more? Always, Jack said. They continued home, hand in hand. That night, Jack lay awake again, but this time, his thoughts were quieter. The world was still watching, still testing. But he had learned something important. He didn't have to perform to be worthy. He just had to keep choosing honesty, protection, presence. And for the first time since everything began to change, Jack Mercer felt something settle firmly in his chest. Confidence, not loud, not flashy, but earned. The kind that stays with you when the lights go out. Fame, Jack Mercer learned, didn't fade the way people promised it would. It just changed shape. After the community safety night, the requests multiplied. Emails, calls, messages forwarded through Mrs. Grant. Invitations to speak at other schools, parent groups, even a regional road safety nonprofit in Chicago. Each request carried praise wrapped around expectation, and Jack felt the weight of it settle deeper each day. He didn't say yes right away. He didn't say no either. Instead, he focused on routine, the only thing that still felt solid. Morning lunches with handwritten notes. Dropping Noah off at school. Unlocking the shop and inhaling the familiar scent of oil and metal. Routine anchored him, even as the world tugged at his sleeve. But routine couldn't protect Noah forever. The incident happened on a Wednesday. Jack was finishing paperwork in the office when he heard raised voices near the front of the shop. He recognized Noah's voice immediately, not loud, but tight. Jack was on his feet before he realized he'd moved. A woman stood near the counter, phone held up, camera pointed directly at Noah. Say hi, she coaxed. My followers would love this. Noah stood frozen, backpack still on, eyes wide. Please stop, Noah said quietly. Jack stepped between them, his body instinctively shielding his son. Turn it off. The woman frowned. I just want a quick clip. It's public interest. Jack's voice dropped, firm and controlled. My son is not content. She scoffed. You can't expect privacy when... Mrs. Grant appeared beside Jack like a force of nature. Out. Now. The woman muttered angrily but left, phone still in hand. Noah's hands were shaking. Jack knelt immediately. Hey. You did nothing wrong. I said no, Noah whispered, voice breaking. Why didn't she listen? Jack pulled him into a tight hug. Some adults forget that no still means no. That night, Jack made a decision. He emailed every organization that had reached out. Thank you for the invitation. For now, I'm stepping back from public appearances. My priority is my son and our privacy. Some replied with understanding. Others with disappointment. A few never replied at all. Jack didn't regret it. 2 days later, Susan Carter called. I heard what happened, she said gently. I'm sorry. Jack sighed. I thought I could manage it. You are managing it, Susan said. By choosing boundaries. She paused. There's something else I wanted to discuss. No pressure. Jack braced himself. Okay. Our foundation is expanding a roadside assistance initiative, Susan explained. Education-based. Training volunteers. Teaching teens basic safety. We'd like you involved, but behind the scenes. No cameras. No publicity unless you approve it. Jack leaned back, relief washing over him. That sounds reasonable. Think of it as impact without exposure, Susan said. Jack smiled. I like that. Meanwhile, another quiet shift was happening. Inside Noah. The letter from Emma arrived that Saturday. Jack found it in the mailbox, addressed carefully in Emma's handwriting. He didn't open it right away. He brought it inside, placed it on the table, and waited until Noah was ready. After dinner, Jack slid the envelope toward his son. "This is from your mom." Noah stared at it like it might bite him. "Do I have to read it now?" he asked. "No," Jack said softly. "You can wait." Noah reached out, pulled it closer, then stopped. His fingers hovered for a long moment before he finally opened it. Jack didn't read it. He watched Noah's face instead. Noah read slowly. His eyebrows knit together, then relaxed. His mouth tightened, then softened. When he finished, he folded the letter neatly. "She said she's sorry," Noah said quietly. Jack nodded. "How does that make you feel?" Noah shrugged. Confused. "That's fair." "She said she was scared," Noah added. "And that she thinks about me every day." Jack swallowed. "Do you believe her?" Noah considered this carefully. "I think she might be telling the truth. But that doesn't fix everything." Jack felt a surge of pride so strong it nearly hurt. "You're right." Noah looked up. "Can I write back?" Jack smiled. "Only if you want to." That night, Noah wrote his reply with careful, uneven letters. Jack didn't guide the words. He only stayed close. The next week brought another challenge, this one from closer to home. At school pickup, Jack noticed a group of parents whispering. One woman approached him hesitantly. "Jack," she said, "I just wanted to let you know, some people are talking." Jack sighed inwardly. "About what?" "They think you're getting special treatment," she said awkwardly. "The grant. The attention. They're saying it's unfair." Jack nodded slowly. He had expected this. "Do you think that?" he asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "No. I think you showed up when it mattered." "Then that's enough," Jack said. That night, Jack talked to Noah again. "Some people won't like us no matter what," Jack said. "That doesn't mean we did something wrong." Noah nodded. "Like Evan used to be mean?" "Exactly." Noah smiled faintly. "He's nicer now." Change, Jack realized, was contagious, but not guaranteed. Toward the end of the week, Jack received a final message from the auto chain finalizing the shop transition. Mrs. Grant would retire at the end of the month. Jack would officially take over operations under the new structure. It was real now. As Jack locked up the shop one evening, Mrs. Grant joined him outside. "You're ready," she said. Jack looked at the darkened windows, the place that had held his worst and best days. "I didn't think I ever would be." She smiled. "None of us do. Until we are." Later that night, Jack stood on the apartment balcony, city lights stretching out beyond Briar Glen. Noah slept inside, letter written, heart cautiously open. The noise around them hadn't stopped. If anything, it had grown louder, opinions, attention, expectations. But Jack had learned how to turn the volume down. He didn't need to be everywhere. He didn't need to prove anything. He just needed to protect what mattered, choose where his energy went, and keep doing the quiet work of showing up. And for the first time, Jack Mercer felt certain of something deep and steady. The story wasn't about the moment the world noticed him. It was about the moment he decided who got to stay close. By the time Mrs. Grant's retirement party arrived, Briar Glen felt different to Jack Mercer, not because the town had changed, but because he had learned how to move within it without flinching. The party was small, exactly the way Mrs. Grant wanted it. Folding tables, homemade food, coffee in mismatched cups. No banners. No speeches longer than necessary. Just people who had passed through Bayfield Auto and Tire over the years, customers, suppliers, neighbors, gathered to say goodbye to a woman who had quietly held a community together. Jack stood near the garage bay doors, watching Mrs. Grant laugh with a group of older customers. For the first time since all of this began, he felt something close to calm. Noah stood beside him, clutching a cupcake. "She's happy," Noah observed. Jack nodded. "She earned it." Evan Price showed up halfway through, hands in his pockets, looking unsure of where to stand. When he caught Jack's eye, he lifted his chin in greeting. "I brought something," Evan said, holding out a small toolbox. "For Noah." Starter set. Noah looked up at Jack, surprised. Jack raised an eyebrow at Evan. You didn't have to. Evan shrugged. I wanted to. Noah took the box carefully. Thank you. Evan smiled awkwardly. You're welcome, kid. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't dramatic. But it was real. Later that evening, Susan Carter arrived quietly, no entourage, no announcements. She greeted Mrs. Grant warmly, then approached Jack. I wanted to say goodbye properly, she said. And to check in. Jack smiled. We're good. She nodded. I'm glad. Then she hesitated. Emily wanted to come, but she didn't want to overwhelm Noah. Jack appreciated that more than words could say. As the party wound down, Mrs. Grant tapped a spoon against a cup to get everyone's attention. I won't give a speech, she said firmly. But I will say this shop will be in good hands. She looked directly at Jack. Jack felt his throat tighten. After the last guest left and the lights dimmed, Jack and Noah stayed behind to help clean up. They worked quietly, stacking chairs, wiping tables. Dad, Noah said suddenly. I think I'm ready. Jack froze. Ready for what? To see Mom, Noah said. His voice trembled, but he didn't back away from the words. Just once. Jack crouched immediately, meeting his son's eyes. Are you sure? Noah nodded. I don't know what I'll feel. But I want to know. Jack took a slow breath. Okay. We'll do it your way. They arranged the meeting for Sunday afternoon at a public park in Oak Ridge. Neutral ground, open space, exits that didn't feel like escapes. Emma arrived early. Jack saw her sitting on a bench, hands folded tightly in her lap. She stood the moment she saw them approach, then stopped herself, unsure. Noah slowed. Jack knelt beside him. We can turn around any time. Noah shook his head. Let's go. Emma's eyes filled with tears when she saw him. Noah, she whispered, like she was afraid to speak louder. Noah stopped a few feet away, studying her. Hi, he said. Emma nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Hi. They sat on opposite ends of the bench at first, Jack standing nearby but not hovering. Emma spoke carefully, answering Noah's questions honestly. Where she lived, what she did, why she left. She didn't make excuses. I was scared, she said. And I made the wrong choice. Noah listened intently. Did you think about me? He asked quietly. Emma nodded immediately. Every day. Noah absorbed that, then asked, Why didn't you come back? Emma swallowed. Because I didn't know how to fix what I broke. Silence followed. Then Noah said something Jack would never forget. You can't fix it, Noah said. But you can try again. Emma broke down then, tears spilling freely. She didn't reach for Noah. She didn't touch him without permission. After a long moment, Noah scooted closer on the bench. Jack turned away slightly, giving them privacy while staying close enough to protect his son. When the meeting ended, Noah walked back to Jack, quieter but lighter somehow. How do you feel? Jack asked gently as they walked to the car. Tired, Noah said. Then, after a pause, but not bad. Jack smiled softly. That evening, Jack sat alone on the balcony again, the city lights steady and familiar. His phone buzzed with messages, some about the shop transition, some about the foundation work, some just checking in. He ignored them all. Inside, Noah slept deeply. The moment that mattered most, the one that had taken the most courage, the most honesty, had happened without an audience. No cameras. No praise. And Jack realized then that the truest parts of a life were almost always unrecorded. The next morning, Jack officially unlocked the shop as manager for the first time. He stood there for a moment before turning the key, feeling the weight and responsibility of it settle fully. He wasn't just fixing engines anymore. He was shaping a future, carefully, deliberately, and on his own terms. One more chapter remained. And Jack Mercer knew now that the ending wouldn't be about recognition. It would be about peace. The first morning Jack Mercer opened Bayfield Auto and Tire as manager, the sky over Briar Glen was pale and clear, the kind of blue that felt earned after a long stretch of gray. He arrived early, earlier than he needed to, keys cool in his palm. For a moment, he just stood there, breathing in the quiet street, listening to the hum of a town waking up. Then he unlocked the door. Inside, the shop looked the same concrete floors, same oil stains that never quite disappeared, same faint rattle in the heater. But something felt different. Not bigger. Not flashier. Just steadier. Jack turned on the lights and set his lunchbox on the counter. A photo of Noah sat beside the register now, taped there on purpose. Not as motivation. As grounding. By 8 o'clock, the first customer arrived. A woman with a tired smile and a minivan making an unhappy noise. "Morning," Jack said. "What can we do for you?" As the day unfolded, Jack settled into the rhythm of work, assigning jobs, checking estimates, answering questions. He caught himself smiling more than once. Leadership, he discovered, wasn't about authority. It was about responsibility, showing up, listening, and staying calm when things went wrong. At lunch, he drove Noah to school like always. Nothing fancy. No speeches. "Big first day," Noah said. Jack nodded. "Yeah." "You nervous?" "A little." Noah smiled. "That's okay. You always fix stuff." Jack laughed softly. "Not everything." "But the important things," Noah replied. That afternoon, Jack received an email from Susan Carter confirming the launch date of the Foundation's roadside safety program. Jack would help design the training materials, teach volunteers, and mentor quietly, no spotlight required. He felt proud, but not overwhelmed. That evening, Noah handed Jack a letter. "It's from Mom," Noah said. She wrote back. Jack nodded. "Do you want to read it alone?" Noah shook his head. "Can we read it together?" They sat at the kitchen table, heads bent close. Emma's words were careful and sincere, no promises she couldn't keep, no expectations placed on Noah. Just patience. Just presence. When they finished, Noah folded the letter neatly. I want to see her again," Noah said. "But not all the time." Jack reached across the table, resting his hand over Noah's. "That's okay. We'll do it your way." Noah smiled. "Thanks." Weeks passed. The shop adjusted smoothly to its new structure. Jack proved steady, fair, unshaken by pressure. Employees respected him, not because of the video, but because he listened and backed them up. The attention faded, slowly but surely. Fewer messages. Fewer looks. People moved on, as they always did. Jack welcomed it. One evening, after closing, Evan Price stopped by again. "I just wanted to say, I signed up as a volunteer," Evan said awkwardly. "For that safety thing." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Didn't see that coming." Evan shrugged. "Guess I learned something." Jack smiled. "We all do. Eventually." Later that night, Jack and Noah walked home under the streetlights. Autumn had settled in fully now, leaves crunching under their feet. "Dad?" Noah asked. "Yeah." "Do you think you'd still help that girl if no one filmed it?" Jack stopped walking and looked at him. "Of course." Noah nodded, satisfied. "Good." At the park the following Sunday, Noah and Emma sat on a bench together, talking quietly. Jack watched from a short distance away, not interfering, not withdrawing. Just present. Emma glanced over once and gave Jack a small, grateful nod. Jack returned it. There was no dramatic reconciliation. No sudden perfection. Just slow rebuilding, honest and careful. That night, Jack stood on the balcony one last time, looking out at the town that had tested him, judged him, and, briefly, celebrated him. The lights shimmered below, ordinary and beautiful. His phone buzzed with a message from Susan. "Proud of you." Jack typed back simply, "We're doing well." He put the phone down. Inside, Noah slept peacefully, letter tucked into a drawer, heart no longer guarded quite so tightly. Jack realized then that the real victory had nothing to do with recognition, money, or redemption arcs that fit neatly into headlines. It was this: a son who felt safe, a life that felt chosen, a future built quietly, one honest decision at a time. Jack Mercer had been mocked, overlooked, tested, and watched. But in the end, the world moved on. And Jack stayed, right where he was needed most. That was enough. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you that kindness still matters, don't forget to subscribe. New emotional, real-life, inspired stories are posted regularly. Stories about resilience, family, second chances, and quiet victories that change lives. Subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Your support helps keep these meaningful stories coming.